Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. That's right, Trading Idea with SmartRobie. I'm your host, Martin Wong. Now we have come to the Friday, another episode, and another market continued to move sideways. But on the US front, we do see the continued move to the upside. It's just that Malaysia is facing a lot of challenges going ahead in terms of the local political situation in many areas, as well as the COVID-19 number of cases and the vaccine rollout. Let's look at what we have for you in our news headline, shall we? Now, in our regular campaign, we continue to have our best stock trade idea for all of you, those of you who have submitted. Congratulations, and you stand a chance to win our iPad giveaway. And if you have not submitted, do submit in, have a chance to grab, just like calling up here, a 50 ringgit Grab food voucher, which will sort of help out the day in here. And also, don't forget our more events coming up for you for the month of for the month of June as well as July. Let's take a look at what we have. Today is definitely a Friday, and Friday we continue our advanced level. We'll be looking at premium alert and also some of the alert that we have last week, as well as chart setup and on the volume spread analysis, and a look at the various news that continue to move in our Malaysian Bursa headlines. Now, first headline is definitely the semiconductor. That's right. Now, the semiconductor sector continue to be in a very, very good shape, as this report is saying from TA Securities, contributing to continue of monthly growth sales. So this is the 15-month since the COVID-19 that we experienced. So continue to grow month on month, and they have a couple of very, very good projection in here. You could see Asia Pacific is growing, Europe growing, Japan is growing, and in 2020, in the same article, they are projected just a bit slower, but still at the 8.8%. As such, they are putting some buy recommendation of Inari, Unisem, as well and MBI, but a sell on LSoft. Let's take a look at these stocks, right? Let's take a look at where is Inari right now, and whether we want to see, is this going to be a green pentagon? Let's switch to a wider chart, hit Inari here, and let's look at the stock chart. Okay, so you can see Inari, it's still range bound and just turned red pentagon, but of course the 3 ringgit that you see in the side there continue to be the support level. It did hit a high of 3 ringgit and 60 cents, so that's something you want to keep in mind if you are looking for base level. Now, for those of you who know how to rechart, definitely this weekend we're going to go into bit down, is to look for stage 1 accumulation first, and then just wait for the green pentagon and then low. Now let's take a look at the other one, which is in here, is Unisem. Okay, Unisem, just type SI Unisem. So hit that one and look at the stock chart. Okay, go on to that, and you're able to see Unisem is very similar, the kind of situation. It actually came down from an old high around 840s. It's still in the green pentagon or blue trend zone in here. Has a nice pullback in here, well supported 720. This may be a good chance for you, to those of you who want to exercise, who have not got into the tech sector. Of course, you may also notice if you switch over to the what we call the hot sector, right on the right hand side, and technology is item number 2, which is one of the hot topic in here, hot sector, having said that. And this is just in time. And do take note, most people, the beginners, and they only buy when it reaches a certain high. And this is what we are trying to tell you, that in the coming months, technology stock will tend to do pretty well. And right now it is coming up from a low base, which does give you a low risk to a higher reward. So take note of it, and you want to capitalize on this kind of thing. And the more you observe this kind of news, then you will see opportunity is there for our taking, is whether we are smart enough to do so and not. All right, right now this stock hasn't moved up greatly, and does present a good opportunity for those of you who have not got into the technology sectors. All right, let's move on to our next news. Now, next news is on the inflation, which continue to hog the headline, and we all know inflation is really a danger to a recovering stock market, not only in the KLSE but also in the US market. Now, we have talked about US market later on when we get to the later section in here, but The story talks about the rising cooking oil, which many of us continue to use it. You can see 5 kilos of bottled cooking oil has risen to 30 ringgit compared to the 250 per kilo for a subsidized pack. So this does tell you that eventually many of our day-to-day essential items will continue to rise up, and that will be priced in to the future growth of many other stocks. So do take note of this in one here. CPO prices has certainly come right back down, just short of 4,000 back to 3,000 in here. If you look at TSH, right, this is one of those proxy to the CPO prices, and we can see from here. Let's take a look at the stock chart, and you can see it did hit a high of 1 ringgit 20 cent, but since has fallen back, I think reacting also to the lower CPO prices, coming back from 4,000 ringgit to 3,000, but it's holding up, and this actually does represent a good level if you're looking for some sort of a dividend yield. And of course, you can also check the dividend yield for TSH, okay, hitting that one, and whether this is a dividend yield. FA rating of just 1, so it not significantly high because of the lower ROE, return of equity in here, but just giving a very short 1.8%. Now, those of you looking for a bit dividend, maybe you want to check out Kim Long, another plantation. There are a few more in those plantation segment in here. Let's move on to our next story. Okay, so our next story is on the rubber glove sector, which being the main of the headline, and the news talks about Top Glove missing the earning and analyst cut earning forecast, and the really stigma to the whole story is the continue of ban of rubber glove products, and many of it subsidiary also to the US market, which remain to be a very lucrative market for that one. The US Customs and Border continue banning or holding a lot of the Top Glove stock, despite the Top Glove engaging. It's going to be a long process, to be frank with you, with the attorney, and it's going to be very costly to finally get the product to move into US and finally get the monkey off its shoulder, as I said before. Having said that, at this level, let's take a look at Top Glove on the stock chart here. Okay, and so let's take a look at the Top Glove, switching to a wider chart, right? And you could see it did hit a high, recent high. That's around the April timeframe, around the 5 ringgit 60. Since then, it come down to 480. That's a yellow pentagon in here. But despite of that, analyst is still giving it a buy call, and the target price is 5 ringgit 70, which is the old high that you see on the right hand side. Right now, it's about 4 ringgit 80, and let's take a look at this, such that the market has slightly priced in all this negative news, and the market is down 1.5%. And like it or not, this major player, market leader in rubber glove, somehow bring up a lot of the rubber glove stocks, which continue to be undervalued. But having said that, the charts does not agree that this stock is going to go any higher. It still required some level of accumulation, and we have seen that also previously in the technology stock. It's just that no one is calling out a rosy market or rosy outlook going forward with what we see right now. All right, so this is what we have for the Top Glove. Now, the next news that we have right now is the Asia Poly. That's right, Asia Poly no longer a substantial winner on the shareholder. But what's very interesting is Asia Poly has turned green pentagon, and that's one of the reasons why I bring this story into your attention. As you can see here, right, let's look at the stock chart, and here you can see, right, it has this is Tarvin. Okay, Tarvin is in the sideways market, despite having the green pentagon holding up the 12 cent. But let's look at Asia Poly. All right, Asia Poly, Asia PO, yeah, Asia Poly, and hit the stock chart. So you will see from the stock chart in here, after falling from 40 cents, right now there is a green pentagon and 30 cents. So it does have this good recovery in here, and let's take a look because of the selling of it in here, whether the market likes it or not. Okay, it is up 1.7%. maybe there is a chance in here before the market take off, and it's showing the good sign of a good entry in here, something you want to take note of. All right, let's move on to our next story is CBIP, another player on the plantation, CPO plantation stocks inside here. Now, having said that, the revenue net profit has gained 51% to 19 million, and this is on the back of maybe of the higher 4,000 ringgit on the CPO prices in here. So the filing did say that the revenue for the first quarter grew to 157 million from 108 million in here. And let's take a look at CBIP. Okay, let's look at the stock chart. So on the stock chart, it's more like a range bound, very similar to what we see on the CPO prices. Again, the new high was somewhere in early May. Right now, it's range bound in here. And let's look at the fundamentals too, and whether this warrant a good buy or not. CBIP. So you can see here, it's 3 out of 8, so it's thus valid as a good investment. PE of 10, ROE of 8, and a much better dividend player for a 3% in here. All right, that's a good idea for those of you who want the exposure on the CPO prices. Moving on to another interesting story which I want to share with you is Server Dynamic. Now, earlier on in many of the earlier story we covered in SmartRobie, I did mention about Server Dynamics having the red Pentagon much earlier. Let's take a look at where Server Dynamic is today. And we all know, we do not want to enter a stock if it doesn't have a green Pentagon. And if you can see from here, this would have saved you, a lot of hassle way back in 21st of March. That is where first came down. And right now, the story talks about Server Dynamic co-founder Encik Awan Daud did sell some of those stocks in here, and it does undermine confidence to many of those institutional shareholders in here. But what can you do when the stocks break down like that? You need to sell some, right, and maybe buy back lower. I suppose that is how he is trying to do, because he still need to hold this. It's more like a, sell higher, try to buy back lower. It's, in a way, he end up ending more shares. But I do think that being a co-founder, your job is to, hold the fort, despite, you are, the face of the company. And this kind of things, which actually, in many ways, does give us an opportunity to study how institutional play a role in here. And right now we can see EPF has exited a fair bit, and KWAP has exited, and also the owner is left holding it. So it will take some time, and I believe for people to forget about it, and also another independent audit which was raised by KPMG for this one. So right now this stock is not going anywhere, but I don't think it's going to go any lower, because why? We're seeing climatic volume coming up, so it's going to be range bound for at least 6 to 9 months going forward in here. So if you do have these stocks inside, you need to sit very tightly. And maybe let's look at the fundamentals. The dividend payment will somehow be a sweetener for you, which does pay a 3.3% dividend. You can see PE is really only 3 times. That makes it even more valuable, because the ROE is still 19% going for. So it's going to be up to the next earnings whether this result will be reflected or not. Okay, if it's reflected, then the FA ratings will be priced in accordingly by SmartRobie algorithm in here. It all depends on the fundamental data that they receive from. All right, now on the US front, this is where we will talk about inflation. Now, for the month of May, inflation seems to be higher despite what we have on April. So on 2 consecutive months, we do have April and May higher inflation, which is about 5% in here. But one significant movement when Nasdaq is moving higher is the lowering of the treasury yield. So that will tell you that going forward, inflation is likely to drop. Right now, looking at the at the mirror, we are seeing inflation for month of May is going higher, but the forward inflation rate has broke below the 1.5%, which is the 10-year US Treasury. So when interest rate forward looking is coming down, then you'll see a lot of technology stocks moving up, and that's why last night the technology heavy Nasdaq was up, Dow Jones was up slightly in here. But all in all, this is very, very healthy for a recovering market for the US side, as well as inflation's coming up, but we don't want to see too much price being raised up for that one. So we will look at one of the very good stocks inside here is Microsoft, which we all know it. Many of our applications and notebook run on Microsoft. And the story talk about Microsoft is doubling down on gaming. Of course, during the MCO as well as the COVID-19, more people are going to gaming, and gaming going forward will be a force to be reckoned in here. But of course, don't forget Microsoft is not only known for that, but also for the cloud computing, Microsoft Azure, which is doing very well, competing with Amazon AWS. So let's take a look at S&P 500 and looking at Robie chart here and looking at MSFT. And you can see right in here. Now do take note, the SmartRobie will be updated at 4 o'clock. Right now we'll be going through the process of updating, clearing, fight all this algorithm. But I want to share with you is the stock chart that you see here, right? And you can see holding up above the 240 US dollar level. Of course, in US you can always buy one share, but this is definitely one of those technology stocks, as I said before, which is capturing on the gaming. And those of you who want to have gaming exposure, Microsoft, and it just turned green Pentagon, and that's one of the attentions I want to bring to you in here. Having said that, will it break up the old high? But going forward, so if US market were to trend higher, likelihood this is going to move up, and who knows, in future this will go for another stock split in here. But we will continue to report to you on the welfare of the US market and some of those stocks which is appearing on the S&P 500. Do take note of Microsoft in here. All right, let's move on to our local KLSE. Of course, our continued Pentagon guider in here continue to outperform the KLCI, of course, in 2020 through our back testing of the 35,000 in here. We did, of course, last year was a very good year, and we had about 106% return on the backdrop of 35,000. So right now, for the January to May, it's 12.2% in here for compared to KLCI, which is a -2, close to about 3% in here. We are still up with the win rate of 67. Our last two trade, which is the Dagang Net, which also happened to be our trade ideas, continue to move up this morning here, and we will talk about Dagang Net too, being one of the position that we have for our portfolio, as well as SemCon. To take note of this in here. Of course, our leaderboard for our past advanced trade idea continue to be very, very strong in here. I think the last trade on the 28th May, Pharma. Now take note, a lot of the premium alert tend to have a lot of short burst movement. It goes up about 3 or 4 bar, hit it, and then sell off. So if you are trading the leaderboard, you want to take a look at this strategy, switch on to a more interactive chart. Again, this is what we talk about being advanced trader. And if you're a beginner, you want to stick to the other stock pick that have either Pentagon, which is will suit you in well. So continue to do very well. And of course, let's take a look at Pecca, the trade idea that we have, which is giving up a 7%, continue to make up. But of course, efficient did have a movement up, but has a pullback, which is normal as part and parcel of the market going up here. It didn't have the short move up that we want to see, but it did pull back. Let's take a look at Pecca we have. All right. So here it goes. Let's look at Pecca. And you can see Pecca last week when we look at again, switch to an hourly chart if you don't have this. And we always recommend to have, if you are an active trader, you want to switch to this. And this is where we spotted it around 10 o'clock. The market did move higher, but right now, after 3 days of movement, you have a pullback, which is normal. You can see volume also coming up. And the other stock is Efficient. Okay, Efficient. So Efficient in here, it's 4th of May. You can see this is where we hit it, but since then the market has pulled back all the way down just to this one. So it hit a resistance and the market pulled back, and that's usually sometimes we get, not all stock will always go up. It all depends on the prevailing volume in here. But on hindsight, you could see this volume in here was climatic, was one of the highest in here. And just like server dynamics, every time when you hit climatic volume, there is always a reason the market will pull back a bit, and we are seeing it right now in here. All right, so those are the stock trade idea that we learned from our past. Now going forward for this week, we have DNex. That's right, one of our stock trade idea that we pick up in here. Some of you who have replied that want to take some profit, it's good, but always have a plan. Always have a plan. If your plan is to sell and take profit on that one, that's fine, but go back and back test it whether this is the most optimum exit in here. As such, for us, we do not take profit just because we have good news as well. We always follow our plan, whether there is a red pentagon or we follow our fixed trade idea that many of you are familiar that we broadcast it, and that's the way to maximize our return. As you have seen before, this year so far we are at 12.2%. So just the point that I want to share with you is that are your portfolio so far faring in it? If it's not, what can you do better right in here? Because if you've been following us for a fair while, our goal in here is to help you to move your portfolio to a more better returns, and such as to have that what we call ROR, the required rate. It's part and parcel. What we always talk about this year for year 2021 is train trader and train investor in here, right? So the whole point, if you are continuing to follow the question, are you performing your portfolio in here to beat the inflation and hope to hit your financial goal? That's part and parcel what we do in here, and we thank you for your support all this while. And those of you especially who have joined us in our masterclass, and this weekend definitely we'll be going a bit deep more. We're going to share with you many of the insights, and many of you in our public workshop, we continue to talk about it, but in our masterclass is where we review the smaller details, the coaching and the mentoring from our coaches to support you to hit your financial goal, may it be so you continue to make more profit and more wealth going forward. All right, so yeah, that is the efficient. So let's take a look at what we have for Dagang Net this morning. And of course, Dagang Net this morning, it jumps up because of the news that was on Edge. You can see gaps up here, 2%, right? And it's very close to the $1 resistance. So you can see here on my right hand side here, you can see, let me just, yeah, this one here, the TP2 is 106 inch. Right now it's 85.55, which it did exceeded, right? And stop loss is 70. So we continue to run the profit by looking at the charts. We trade based on charts, okay? We don't trade on some sort of news, and we want to see how is that finally materialized on that one. Who knows, this thing can go up $1 in there. And remember, the way to make money is to run your profit and cut your losses fast. I think many of you may have known that, but we want to ensure that you continue to know of your trading plan. All right, so let's look at the next trade that we have is MicroLn, which did come out on our premium alert this morning in here. Again, MicroLn has another news in here about transferring to the main board. I believe now it's about $2.67 in here, and it's been in the nice uptrend, long period of congestion since February in here. Did support around 220 and finally making up move. That's certainly great. Will we see what we saw previously for Pecca for MicroLn? Interesting to see with this moving to the Bursa. What does it mean? It means previously a company like Inari, which is being ignored, being a mid-cap stock, and MicroLn fits into it, will be spotted by bigger large cap stock and foreign funds. If they do come in, do check out on our dashboard whether they're coming back. Those of you who have that will give a better information, and MicroLn does give you the kind of access and the growth that we wanted. All right, so definitely a trade idea in here from MicroLn, and next week we will definitely come back and check this out. All right, so let's move on to our next story that we have for you is the continue of the conceptual map that we see on the right hand side in here, and in the reminder as part and parcel of our advanced level in here. A lot of time the stocks will go through temporary pullback, which we saw for efficient. Not all the time it will go straight up, but also right now we are seeing the same thing happening on Pecca. Now, temporary pullback is good, right? But we want to ensure the volume are sufficient enough. And again, many of this we will discuss in our masterclass, the different variant of our Coach Fu, which is a pullback expert. So make sure if you're with us this weekend in here, great. We're going to be sharing a lot of those in here and continue to have a very good success rate going forward. All right. Of course, this is a QR code for all the sign strength and sign weakness. If you have not watched this, do stay with us and watch this, and you will be updated on our of course, this weekend is our masterclass, and we are starting tonight, I believe, at 8 o'clock. So we are starting at 8 o'clock in here, and now that will be more of the intro to the volume spread analysis and introduction also to our coaches in here. So tonight I will see you in our masterclass in here. Of course, right now we are on our stock review. That's right, your stock review in here. And thank you for those of you who, to our top fans, and of course those of you who have shared your comment in our Google Play Store and Apple Store. We thank you for your kind and generous feedback that we continue to improve our services and product to you, which we find very important as part of our better service to give to the VSA community. All right, so right now we want to look at a couple of stocks inside here. We have Mr. Yang here, okay, UWC, again a technology stock, so this should be moving up, but like it or not, Red Pentagon has come out in here, and now we're going to have earnings. Okay, earnings is coming up, so is that going to be a bad earnings or not? But it hasn't hit the ATR stop loss yet, so it does looks like very similar to Inari. A lot of the stocks moving up, but very quickly resistance came in, sellers came in, and you do see a bit of sell. But going forward on the semiconductor news, right? We want the news to align with our stock. Definitely it hasn't run in yet. It hasn't hit our stop loss. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? Okay, what are you going to do? Of course, if the market has gone a bit higher on the Red Pentagon, you want to take some profit, but right now we're not seeing that here. Right now in here. All right, let's take a look at other shares. Okay, we have Chris Chin here on Itronics. That's right. Okay, we look at the DNex. We already talked about it. Okay, Industronic. Now, Industronic, like it or not, it did touch the ATR stop loss, so that's not good. This is one of those stocks I think you should exit because it hit the ATR stop loss. Right now, you got the green pentagon, and it could be in a long accumulation here. But if you look at chart like this, usually if we go straight up, right, and distribute, and just look at this chart, and very similar to green packet. Right, they have the same signature. One bar shoots up, and then you see one bar shoots up, one bar shoots up, another bar shoots up. So when you broke through the ATR stop loss at this junction, you want to get out, and you want to avoid this thing in here. So Industronic do fall into the same picture in here. So make sure you want to avoid this kind of so-called smart money luring you in and then trap you. All right, don't fall into that. Next we have Salute. Okay, Salute. Salute is good, looking at green pentagon in here. All right, then you have a pullback. That's a good one. All right, lie in here, waiting for the green pentagon in here. You had a bit of accumulation. That's pretty good. All right, this is a nice chart in here. We got Kenny here with LKL. Okay, LKL and SOP. Now LKL again hit the ATR stop loss. If you just close below it, just exit. This one is not going anywhere, and it could get worse. All right, SOP, which is Sarawak or SOP. This is a plantation stocks. Again, the plantation stocks are reacting to the lower CPO prices breaking below 4,000 in here. So it closed below the ATR stop loss in here. You want to be out because this one is not going to go anywhere. So I think it's very important, those of you who want me to look at a chart, my comment usually follow what the charts is saying, so that in a way it keeps you in a longer trend of the market. All right, unless the company it's have some sort of good fundamental, you are holding it, else it may not go anywhere else. All right, it's always good to be okay. Then Amir is asking, Freight has any momentum? Freight management in here. Well, if you look at freight management in here, it's going through a period of pullback, low volume here. So usually if you just follow the green pentagon, you stay with the trade. Of course, if good that you learn to read how some of the charts, that will be great. Definitely the logistic continue to be in a strong trend in here, but you got a double top in here. Do take note, the ATR stop loss is just somewhere around 145, so that's a long way in here. Trend still pretty up. Learn to read the low volume in here, all right, and you want to see some sort of reduction in the volume, narrow spread bars. That's important, part and parcel of the another accumulation here. Market's not going to go up straight again, all right. So let's take a look at the other side. We have a couple of members in here. Okay. So this weekend, we definitely going to be looking at more stocks, just not because of the Malaysians in here. As I said, share with you before, US does has a lot of good opportunity, and it's the same chart reading, same access in here, and many of your cross-border that does it, or if you want to have a US broker to do that, I think it's also good too. In any way, it does diversify your risk too. Always consider two fishing ponds. In case one fishing pond no fish, we just move to the next fishing pond. I think this this metaphor, I think many of you are familiar with that one too. All right, let's take a look at okay, so that's the story that we have for you in here. So thank you for coming in here, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, where all our information video are provided in here. And if you're first time, join our Telegram chat room, and don't forget to submit your best stock trade idea in here. Guys, ladies, learn to follow the trend. Don't just stick to certain stock that doesn't move up. All right, look for the green pentagon, look for the sectors, and if the real trend do come out in here, but right now we are just seeing a little bit on technology. Some will be driven by the transportation. If you just look at hot sector here, those are the one you want to be looking at. Of course, finance still continue to be just pops up. Communications are coming back, all right. The real estates and energy, okay, energy is coming back right now for the hot sectors here. Oh, sorry, this is the US one. I should switch to KLCI. That's why. Okay, hit to that one. And you can see technology, construction, REITs, and finance are coming back. So REITs is the next stock. So do have time, go through all this sector, be familiar. The whole point what we're trying to share with you is to go through the different various rotational, which is important to get your portfolio to align with trending stock. You can only make money on trending stock if the market moves sideways. So make sure you're holding strong fundamental stock that at least pay some sort of dividend. If not, then like LKL, which usually which is relying a lot of future news, you are not too sure whether they're doing no track record, something like that, you might want to exit. I think we need to be smart when it comes to our investment. And as I said before, if one pond doesn't give you the kind of returns, we want to move on to US. If not, the way to do this is to get more information, more education to make ourselves be ready when the market is here. So thank you for coming today, and we really appreciate your time being with us in here. So Martin signing off, and I'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. for our masterclass member. And don't forget, this coming Monday, there won't be any breakfast show, as I'll be doing live trading with my masterclass students to guide them, to train them together with my coaches and my thing for the next 12 to 15 months. That is something we want to hope to get you up to be a trained trader and trader beyond 2022. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.